and welcome to episode 372 of the award-winning podcast, Fergo and The Freak. I'm the NRL Rugby League project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And joining me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, mate?
Going very well, Andrew. How have you been?
Not too bad. I just want to, exclusive, I just dropped my guts.
Oh, Jesus.
Good thing the window's open.
You're on the bloody podcast.
Oh. Did you hear a few weeks ago they were talking about over in Japan they made these scratch and sniff TVs?
No.
Was it scratch and sniff? Oh, no, it was TVs you could taste, so people are going to go around licking their TV screens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just getting set up for the podcast that you can smell.
It's going to be interesting having one of those TVs you can taste. Like, yeah. It's you could
how many obese Americans are going to start eating TVs when they're watching the hot dog eating contest?
That's a good point. You could, it makes showing a friend 2 girls, 1 cup really different, doesn't
it? That really does. It really does. So what's been going on in the world of rugby league news?
Well, first of all, I think we should talk about what's going on in Tonga because they had that amazing explosion from that volcano, which I'm sure we all saw.
Underwater volcano?
Hey?
Was it an underwater volcano?
I believe it was, and it was seen via satellite, and it was actually recorded in a change in air pressure in like Auckland. I even saw somebody in Canberra say that they picked up an air pressure change from it in with their backyard barometer, I guess it would be. So the people of Tonga are having to deal with that. They had a tsunami that came in after that as well. I think the tsunami also hit Fiji, and just, it was just tragic to see that all happening. My understanding is that there have been no official fatalities from the volcano going off, but obviously they're going to need a fair bit of help, and hopefully all of the governments in the region are helping them out even right now, But I saw a little bit of talk online that maybe Australia should play a test match against Tonga and all of the proceeds go to helping the Tongan people.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool because, it'd get international rugby league, back on track again, and 2 best teams in the world playing one another. And like, I don't care when they play it. Play it in round 4, midweek, take all the players out of the club teams. Just get it played. I think it would be fantastic.
They could have one in the preseason instead of, some of the other games they got there.
Yeah.
Put a test match on in the preseason. Have another one, before Origin starts, another one at the end of the year. Have 3 tests.
Yeah.
Think of the cash you could bring in.
Yeah, and just make it happen. Rugby league has got an opportunity to help out in a little bit, and it'd be a good thing to do, I think.
Absolutely. I was thinking you could have New Zealand play Fiji as well.
Yeah.
At a similar time. Make them all double headers.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I reckon that'd be a fantastic idea.
But yeah, seeing the footage of that, I just, there's sometimes you see things. It's like when we saw the tsunamis that hit Japan, and I remember growing up and you would read about tsunamis and no one really had proper footage of one. And then we saw them hit Japan after they had that massive earthquake, and it was like, oh man, this is that thing that people had talked about for so long.
Yeah.
And seeing the footage of that volcano was just the same sort of thing. It was like horrifying.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. So yeah, best wishes to all the people out there. Hopefully there is no loss of life out there. That would be an absolutely amazing feat if that does happen. Let's hope that happens.
Very true. Now, there's been a little bit of news from over in the UK as well.
Oh.
Well, how we've got the Rugby Football League. We talked about this on the last podcast. You got the Rugby Football League, and then you've got Super League as well. And they've been talking about, merging again and back and forth, and they've done this for forever. And I said to you, I'm bored of the conversation because it never goes anywhere. Well, we've had movement.
No. Has it gone somewhere?
We have.
Oh.
Well, because there's confusion with commercial partners in terms of having the Rugby Football League and then Super League, and like who do you go to, who's in charge, that sort of thing.
Whose letterhead are we using?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've done the only thing that they really could do. They've made a third entity.
I was going to say, did they make a third entity?
Yeah. So the new third entity will control and sell the commercial assets of rugby.
Oh, what a waste of money.
No, it's not a waste of money. See, this is where you're not looking at it from an English administrator's point of view. See, everyone gets to keep their jobs, okay? And
then you create other jobs, which then you've got to pay salaries for.
Yes. Everyone gets money. It's fantastic, except for, junior development and, players and stuff like that.
Players outside the top 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah. They don't get money. But the administrators, there's actually more of them now. So that's really good news for English Rugby League, because if there's one thing English Rugby League doesn't have enough of, it's administrators.
Committees.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound more and more like Australian rugby union ranks at the start of the 20th century. Lots of officials earning big coin, and all the players are sitting there busting their backsides getting fuck all.
Yeah. But so that's going to really make everything really streamlined, having 3 different administrations to deal with. And, of course, if you're the person that was dealing with money and you say who's in charge, and no one's in charge.
So who's the highest ruling body out of the 3?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, on top of that, they want to try and sell off part of this new entity to a private ownership group who would then own, like, say, a third or a half.
So 6 staff in the new entity?
Yeah. But here's the thing, right?
Oh, fucking God.
This is so dumb. Like, I can't believe this. They thought this was a smart idea. It's so dumb. It just say you buy 1/3 of the new entity. You don't actually buy a third of that, right? Because at the end of the day, if the Rugby Football League or Super League decide against something, there's nothing you can do about it.
It holds no water.
Yeah. So why would you buy into it?
So the first thing you do is if you've got the coin and the lack of intellectual mass to go, you know what, I'm going to spend my money on this fucking 3-headed serpent. It's a very dead serpent. And you say, right, first thing I'm going to do is say, right, before I give you a cent, and I will give you at least a cent, let's be clear on this, I don't want 3 different bodies. I don't want 2 different bodies. I want one governing body running all of rugby league in England, and then I will talk money with that one sole entity. I don't want any other committees. They've got to start streamlining this shit. You're not going to sit there and fix all of the woes in English Rugby League, much of them related to finances, if all you keep doing is creating more and more administration and more committees and more competition, management, units and boards and stuff like this. It's overmanaged.
Yeah.
And for what? There's no results anywhere. All it is getting more and more obscure every year in England.
Yeah, it's becoming a sport that's, it's...
The players are carrying it.
Yeah, and like it's a little town sport that, it's become an oddity in British sport.
And we've shown them down here that it is much more than a little town sport. Papua New Guinea has shown that it can be a national sport.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are they doing over there?
Unbelievable.
So long as, 3 or 4 blokes are getting big payment out of it and just ripping the guts out of everything else, I suppose that's all they want. And that attitude's got to go. Well, you know what they need? They need Mick Potter running the RFL because he'll do it for nothing.
Well, the thing about it is that, we've seen players who haven't been paid by clubs over there. We've seen clubs going to administration all the time and so many, people that have been owed money. And the the governing body and the administrators, they never lose a cent. They never go without a pay packet.
Always paid first.
Yeah, and now we're going to have I guess we're going to have 3 different chief executive officers or chairman or whatever they are going to call them. And it just makes no sense. I mean, if you've got this new governing body that has control over the financial interests of the game, then obviously you don't need those people at the Rugby Football League and Super League level, but 100% they will keep their jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
are they running the finances of both Super League and the RFL, or just of the Super League, or just of the RFL?
Well, they're supposed to be running all of their commercial interests.
So why not just merge the two together? Why just do the finance side? This is fucking stupid.
Because you know why it is? Because you get 2 CEOs in a room, and they say there's one job available. I don't want to lose my job. You don't want to lose your job. Let's just get another job. And they'll give it to some friend. It'll be, you know what it'll be? It'll be some old former, 3rd division soccer club's chairman who comes in and they'll say, oh, he did really well with fucking, whatever park, and watch how he goes. And he'll just be as useless as ever. Remember when they brought in a guy from tennis and they're like, oh, he's done so well with the tennis. Fuck it. There's always some fucking guy that comes in that's got this huge reputation, supposedly, and just is terrible. And English fans know it's a lost cause at this point.
Yeah, they need genuine leadership.
Yeah.
At the absolute top. And they need to get all their competitions and all their teams and all their players all with the same shoulders on the same wheel going in the same fucking direction. Because at the moment, the management are all they're going one way, and the players are all they're carrying the game like never before.
Yeah. And who's in charge? Who's in charge of it all?
That's the thing. It's so much of it is every man for himself, and that is not the way to run a sporting organisation.
No, not at all.
Let alone a competition.
It's self-serving by these English administrators. They should all be ashamed of themselves. And if the clubs weren't so self-serving, they would. Sorry.
I was going to say, look, what they should be doing is right. If they're all, there's no way knowing that they need to have a separate division purely for the finance. If the NRL, earning so much more money than what the Super League does, can do it all with one committee.
Yeah.
Why the fuck does Super League need 3?
Makes no sense at all.
It's baffling. And this is another reason why England needs to get themselves a players' union. Stand up against this rubbish.
Yeah.
Because that's money that should be going to players, to grassroots footy, as you said, just helping stop clubs from folding, especially in the lower divisions.
Yeah.
Simple things like this. It's all the best thing for a sporting organisation and for a sporting competition is stability. And it's easy to market stability to a TV network because they know what they're going to get. They know what they got to sell to. They know where to sell it to. If you're going to have this, fucking wishy-washy crap and you don't know who's playing what competition every separate year, of course TV networks are going to say, we're not too sure. Especially when it's a competition that's been on its ass for the best part of 30 years.
And not only that, you've got current administrators who are in place right now who have overseen the game losing revenue.
You sound emotional. He's very emotional. As we know, Freaky does love his English Rugby League. He's getting
especially
emotional.
St. Helens.
Yeah. Getting very emotional at the moment. But that's nuts. That's nuts.
It really is.
Did you need to have a bit more whiskey or something?
Yeah, let's have a break. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden, eh?
That's okay. You know what? I'll ramble on for a little bit while you get your shit sorted out.
Ramble on about what?
Well, the only bit of news that I've heard during the week is that the West Tigers have signed a young, and pretty damn good, that's 2 ticks, centre, which is a bit confusing. So the Tigers had 2 centres last year. The prominent ones, who they barely played, were James Roberts and Joey Laulua. both who are, gone. They've brought in Oliver Gildart. They've got a bunch of other young blokes as well that are there as well. They're pretty well set for centres. Now, the other problem they had is they brought in Jackson Hastings and they've decided to put all of their eggs in the Luke Brooks basket. Eventually, he's going to come good in their mind, which means Hastings and Brooks are going to be the halves. That's pretty much settled, which means Adam Dewey, arguably the Tigers' best player of the last 2 years, would have to move to centre. But after signing Oliver Gildart and now Stafford Toa from the Knights, who's a very, very good centre and an NRL quality centre, where the hell are they going to put Adam Dewey? And if they're not going to put him at centre, and they're going to if they're going to put him at centre, where are they going to put Toa? Like, why would you sign a young NRL quality centre? You're going to put a centre on the bench? This is the problem with the West Tigers, and I've said it many times before, and I won't drone on and on about it, but they will make signings before they try and figure out what they actually need. And what they don't need right now are more players competing for exactly the same positions that Adam Dewey plays in, because Dewey he's one of your top 3 players. You need to put him in the position he's very, very good at and build around that. And what they're doing at the moment is they're building the team completely unaware of the fact that Adam Dewey is one of their best 3 players and still at the club. And so they've now got to try and either move people into positions where they're weaker in to accommodate Dewey, or make Dewey play in a position and make him try and accommodate the rest of the team at the expense of himself and the rest of the team. Neither of this is a workable solution or intelligent.
No.
But at the same time, it all comes down to they didn't need to sign Gildart, and I said it all along. And now signing Toa proves that even more. They could have just had Stafford Toa and Adam Dewey in the centres. That's fine. But you've gone and put all this money in Oliver Gildart. He's coming over. You're not going to put him in Reggie's the whole year because you pay him, I assume, decent coin. It's the West Tigers, so of course they are. So now you've got 3 centres or 2 5/8s. And you're not going to move him to fullback. You've got one of the best young fullbacks in the game there.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's so stupid.
What if they put Gildart in the back row, maybe?
I don't think he's built for it. I'll say this, game. I think Gildart is a very good line runner, so he could work it. But I think at the NRL level, the only way someone with a small frame can make it as a back rower is if they're rangy and tall, and they're absolutely just maniacal about the lines they run. Which means that you've got to be Luke Lewis, or Liam Fulton to a lesser degree. And there's not too many players that are that committed to get themselves completely caned in they're not in a huge bulky frame. They've got more of a rangy sort of body. I think Gildart would need to bulk up a bit, and I think if he does that, he loses his agility, and especially his line speed, which are 2 good aspects of what he has. So I think he's kind of one of those blokes who he's just an out-and-out centre. Yeah. And I don't know, you could get into the size to be a second row in the NRL. I know a lot of the players that are over in the Super League will play centre and the back row. That happens a lot. But I'm just going to check. I don't think Gildart's done much of that. Have a look.
It just smacks of a team that's...
He's never played in the forwards. He's played 4 games on the wing, 138 at centre and 2 on the bench.
There you go. Like, I don't know, it just smacks of a team that's just grabbing talent when it can. And look, there is some merit to that, but...
That's what they've always done. But, new era.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's never been an underlying plan at the West Tigers.
Here you go. Oliver Gildart, 6 foot tall, 85 kilos.
Well, I'm 1 kilo heavier than him.
Yeah.
He's not going to, he won't, if he really is 85 kilos, he's not going to be able to play in the forwards in the NRL.
No. And that's his problem. He does have good line speed. He is good agility-wise left and right.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But, yeah, you can't move him to the forwards.
And we've even seen, like, you look at someone like a Victor Radley, who's crazy. And yet, being a more slight player, Victor Radley's a lot bigger than that. He gets smashed up in the forwards. You know, there's a few players like that.
Radley's at least, nearly 95 kilos.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of size about him, but it's not that much more, obviously, but it's enough.
Yeah.
85 is pretty small for a rugby league player, be it Super League or NRL.
Yeah, it really
is slight.
There would be, how many players in the whole NRL would you think would be, smaller than 85 kilos? There wouldn't be many. It'd be a handful.
Yeah, not many in today's game. Luke Brooks is 88 kilos.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a small player for the NRL.
That's right. Well, he looks like, according to what I'm looking at here, he's about the same height as Gildart.
Yeah.
He's 3 kilos heavier than him.
You know who would be slighter than that would be Preston Campbell's son, Jaden Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
He would be.
There's nothing to him. Preston wasn't too big himself, though, obviously.
Yeah.
Don't know Jaden's weight. Oh, here you go, 78 kilos.
Yeah, there we go. And look, that's not that much lighter.
But he is
Gildart.
3 centimetres taller than Gildart.
Yeah, and you can tell he's gonna fill out. And look, he's a teenager. He's got growing to do. Man, who else would there be? There's just not that many of them that are that slight.
Even to be a centre, even to be a centre, he's going to have to put on 4 or 5 kilos.
Yeah, especially with the way NRL centres are right now.
You've got to be able to defend like a second rower.
Yeah, they're either that second rower build, especially under this current regime of Volandis ball. You want a big centre, or there's someone like a Stephen Crichton who's like, this ridiculous super athlete, Yeah.
It's crazy. So I don't know what their plan is. We'll wait and see. We'll smash a few teams in the trials and everything will be fine.
Yeah. That's the new era. New era is going back to basics, and that is having the smallest team in the NRL.
Yeah, it used to be small forwards, now we've got small backs.
Yeah, remember when they had just like all those small forwards? It did work for 18 months.
Yeah. They got us a premiership.
Yeah. They weren't with it for 8.5 years, but it worked for 18 months.
That's right. Well, if it works once, Control-C, Control-V, that shit. Hard. Every year. It'll work again, trust me. So that's the only news I knew of during the week.
Yeah. Now, there was an article that caught my eye earlier this week. Man. And it was that ex-NRL player Craig Field was released from jail a little bit early from his manslaughter charge. And I remember when the news happened, he was released on January the 3rd. He served 8 years of a 10-year sentence for manslaughter. And he was able to go straight to the media and get a positive PR piece done about him. And I couldn't believe it. And look, this isn't about Craig Field, really. Craig Field is Craig Field, what are you going to say about him? Just look at his record. But the fact that anybody would say, yeah, I'll write that story is what shocked me. And I just couldn't believe that anybody would go with that angle. It just shocked me that anyone would.
Surely that's the sort of story you just go, you know what? We don't need to tell that one. Let's just leave that one quiet.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah,
And straight into a redemption story.
Yeah, crazy. Now there's a quote here from Craig Field, which I can't believe it, right? Mm-hmm. He says, "If I can help kids in any way that have had troubled pasts or are on the road in their lives where they need some guidance, I would like to grab them and tell them that they don't want to go where I went because it's not a good place." So, He's trying to get a job teaching youngsters how to behave. He's 50. He doesn't know how to behave himself.
Yeah. And look, pretty sure Craig Field was he one of the 2 or 3 West Tigers players who was basically suspended for cocaine use or alleged cocaine use?
Allegedly. Wasn't the thing that somebody put a pill of it into their drink and their drink had been
something
spiked?
Like that.
Yeah.
I know that Kevin McGuinness was the other one, and he busted his backside doing a ton of community work, and the West Tigers in the NRL allowed him back early.
Mm-hmm.
But Field just did his time. Now, there's another story that was like when Field left the NRL, and he went to, I'm pretty sure he went to Group 9, which is the Riverina area. There was a story which came out of an alleged crime that he was involved in there where he plotted a fake robbery where he was allegedly held up, but it was actually by someone who he knew, and he set the whole thing up.
Oh, really?
This is the alleged crime, and he handed over money or poker machine keys or something like that. I heard different versions of the story before it went to the media from people I know that live out there. But I don't know what happened with the story there, but I do know that shortly after that, he left that area and went up to the New South Wales northern suburbs somewhere. And he was up there for a while before coming back down. Was it Newcastle way when he had his incident that saw him get? He hit a bloke who was a farmer from Tamworth, I think.
Yeah,
and the farm poor bloke passed away from the blow, and Phil got 10 years manslaughter for that. He then said something about how he was standing up for a mate or something like that. But you know what? I don't see any reason why you would need to bash someone with a king hit, because that's allegedly what happened.
Well, the way I look at it, the court looked at it and said, "You're going to jail." Yeah,
it seemed to be a pretty cut and dried case.
Yeah, Craig Field said, "I know I've got a lot to offer when it comes to challenges and hurdles that people are going to meet, because I've been there and I've made a few mistakes in the past, and with mistakes there are consequences."
You know what the problem is it should not come down to you having to spend 10 or 8 years in jail for killing someone to make you go, maybe I've been doing life wrong.
But
you should have that shit figured out by now.
Yeah, and
why should someone have to die for you to realise that you've done the wrong thing? Your fucking time is done, man. You can't help people. You can't help yourself.
Yeah, this idea that, and there's been a lot of players that have done stupid things and really bad things, and they come out and they're like, "Oh, I want to teach the younger players not what," and it's like, no, you're the example that they don't need. You're the person they don't need to hear from. They need to hear from people that are actually, go about their lives and not get into trouble and not go to jail, and that, are good, decent people. They're the role models they need, not people that have, literally just walked out of jail. And I just couldn't believe that anybody would write that article.
I didn't mind it when Todd Carney said he wanted to do something and give back to the community and try and make sure that kids didn't go down the path he went down. Okay, that I don't mind. Carney never went to jail. He didn't kill anyone. Worst thing he ever did was drink his own piss and smash in a Telstra store. I don't know if there's anything else he did that was worse than that. Light his own farts. Todd was a dickhead on the piss. So if he can help say, you know what, don't get drunk as often and be a dickhead like I was, because this is what will happen. Fair enough. He can get in there and get to them before they do something stupid, like get pissed and bash someone and kill them. I don't mind that avenue. But yeah, I do agree. The people who need to be out there setting them, teaching these young kids what to do and what not to do are people like your Wayne Pearces.
Yeah.
Live a clean life, do the right thing. You don't need alcohol. Be smart about the way you do things. That makes sense.
Yeah, because like, look,
You want good examples, as you said.
And look, in life you're going to make mistakes because no one's perfect. But I just think that sometimes the people that are put forward to be an example are the wrong example. Like they like.
Remember when Ben Cousins was going to do it in the AFL?
It's just ridiculous. Absolutely
Keep making the same mistakes after doing it.
And there's plenty of people in the game that, like, you can learn from. Like, I think of someone like even a Robbie Farah. Like, Robbie Farah hasn't really done anything, terrible during his whole career. He's tried to build things away from football. And you've got to hear from the good people, the good examples. And I just think that, this idea that we're going to put a bunch of young players in front of Craig Field to learn examples, it's just, to me, it's fucking outrageous.
Well, especially with 99.9% of humans are going to go through their entire lives and not kill anyone.
Yeah, there is that.
You're just going to say, okay, don't get drunk and kill people, and everyone in the room's going to go, I'm pretty safe. I'm not going to do that.
They're like, wait, you're talking too quick. Don't kill people. Yeah, so silly.
It's ridiculous. And for it's dumb that he thinks that he's going to be able to not just, it's dumb that he thinks he's going to provide support that people want. But he's deluded enough to think that he can actually help.
But here's the thing. Would you be totally shocked if he was not, like, I think there'll be some club somewhere out there that will say, you know what, he'd be good as and I'm not saying NRL level. I'm talking about lower level club in the bush or something where they'll say like, oh yeah, we could get him on as a coach. I
doubt it.
You reckon?
I doubt it.
I hope you're right.
Because I don't think he's been doing anything with rugby league for a few years anyway before that incident happened.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be sought after. Because a lot of them are going to want people who are going to draw players to the club, not someone who had a troubled career at the least, let alone what happened after he left the NRL.
Yeah.
He's not a draw. And so, I don't think anyone want anything to do with him. They'll just steer clear of him.
I'm just at a point where I wouldn't be shocked by anything at this stage.
Oh, true. I mean, but as you said, the most sickening thing about this is that staff writers decided to pursue this as a story purely because there's not much else going on. And I think the biggest issue I had which I think we also need to discuss, is the fact that the headline said ex-NRL star. And I think we need to discuss, what you need to have achieved in your career in order to be regarded as an ex-NRL superstar, an ex-NRL star, and an ex-NRL player. Because I find too many players are labelled as former superstars and former stars, and yet they probably played like 7 games over 3 years. That's not a star.
Yeah, look, I get that. I think that ship sailed, though. I think that there's all sorts of areas in life where that's brought up. Like if you think of, like you'll see former TV star jailed or something, and then you look and they were on like Neighbours once, and
they were holding an envelope in the back.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It seems to be really prevalent in sport, not just rugby league, but in sport.
Yeah,
and I'd like to see it pulled up a lot more.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, for superstar, it needs to be someone who's actually played international football for more than one season.
That would be a good marker.
So maybe 3 years. 3 years of international footy, I'd say that's a superstar.
Yeah.
2 years of international footy or 1 year could be a star.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is just NRL player.
Okay. I'd be up for that. Former NRL player. Remember I think there was a guy that was done, I can't remember, I can't remember, but I feel like it was a domestic violence incident, and they were saying former New Zealand Warrior, and he had a trial for the Warriors.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Like it happens a lot. And it's I mean, it's misrepresenting a situation, and it's doing it to get it's clickbait, and it's doing it to get clickbait during terrible times in people's lives. And I'm talking about the victims, you know.
Yeah, and look, I understand that clickbait is something that's not going away anytime soon. But the problem with clickbait is as more and more people become aware of it and understand it, it loses its initial value.
Yeah.
To the point where people stop trusting media completely.
Yeah.
Like we still, even those of us, like myself, who are skeptical of a lot of what goes on in the media, you still have to watch it every now and then for the bits of facts that they do spit out that are important.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is you've got to go and sort through all the other bullshit to get there. But the more and more that they rely on clickbait in order to get their eyes and their clicks, the more and more they eat away at the trust of the reader to the point where people will just stop reading it altogether. And then what are you going to do? You're going to get more and more extreme with your clickbait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like lying. Like every time you tell a lie, you've got to tell another lie in order to make the first lie seem accurate. But each lie has to get bigger and more extravagant to cover up all the lies before it. Same goes with clickbait. Each clickbait thing has to get more and more clickbaity in order to keep getting the clicks.
Yeah.
To the point it gets out of control, and you're not talking facts anymore. You're just talking bullshit.
And that's why you see a lot of them, the media outlets, especially in Australia over the last couple of years, where they have gone from because it's very difficult for them to put out and out lies out there because they can get sued, and they have been sued by people that were already rich before they sued them. But they've sort of changed tack to where they will get some of the people that work for them to say something outrageous, and then they report on the outrageous thing that person said, and then they report on the way that people have reacted to that outrageous thing. And so they sort of generate their own media from within, and then that's not news either.
That's right. Yeah, that bullshit happened as well during the week. Then look, I'm going to say I wouldn't be surprised if it was Dean Ritchie, because I've got a feeling he's covered quite a few stories about Craigfield in the past.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he went there. He loves a good retribution story. He won't talk about good things that are actually happening in football. He waits until someone's done something really fucking horrid, and then he tries to do a good story about them after that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't get it. Part of me thinks that it's because they don't know how to talk about football.
Well, that's fact.
Yeah, how many of them do you ever see sit down on one of these shows? And I don't watch them anymore, but you would see them sit down on a show and actually talk about the football. They just don't. They talk about anything except the football. Can you imagine if you and me sat down to do this, and any time we went to talk about football, I changed the subject and started talking about rumours or things that have happened off the field that don't have anything to do with football? It'd be really weird. But they make a living out of it.
Yeah. Parasites.
Yeah.
Absolutely parasites.
It's very strange. I don't understand it. I don't, That's why I don't read their shit. I just couldn't believe. I saw somebody tweet that headline out, and I was like, "Hey, you fucking serious?" And read it, and it was like, "Oh man, I can't believe someone would write it."
No. There's something else before we get on to another issue that I thought of. I saw there was a tweet by the International Rugby League a day or two ago, and they were asking people for questions, because I think someone who's running the International Rugby League was going to try and answer them.
Yeah.
I was wondering did you get around to asking them a question, or did you not see it?
I saw it. I was going to ask a question, but I thought they're just not going to answer any questions that are difficult. They're just not going to. So why bother?
That's a fair comment. Should we go through and see if we can answer any of them?
Yeah, I'm up for that. See what questions come up. Yeah.
Let's see. Where was it? Ask the IRL. Here we go. There's only 36 replies. Let's see what we've got here. James Cheeseman, he said, "Is the Commonwealth Championship being played this year?" How many countries are signed to make the IRL a member of the GAISF? That's the something International Sports Accord.
Yeah.
If the sports accord is dissolved, what is the next plan? That's a good question. Why does the IRL have the Middle East Africa when every other sport has Africa and the Middle East mostly in Asia? Yeah, it's another good question.
Yeah.
Don't think they'll get any answers to those. AK15 says, when the World Cup cancellation behind us and hopefully no more major COVID interruptions, is the full calendar due to be published anytime soon? There's a lot of people asking about the full calendar.
Well, I remember the last time they put out a full calendar, and it was just games that involved Great Britain, Australia, and New Zealand.
Yeah.
That was the last one that I ever saw.
Yeah, lots about there for a full calendar. Steve Mitchell asks, any plans in future for a biennial or every 4 years European Championship tournament? I think they've already got one.
Well, the thing is that, like, we should have one in the Pacific and one in Europe, and they should be pretty high profile, you know?
Well, yeah.
And they're not. They're just not.
No. And we need to be, the one thing the International Rugby League needs to be doing is organising to get these international games properly televised.
Yeah.
Either if it's not on TV, then at least on their own website.
Yeah.
Not through Facebook, not via mobile phones, not through YouTube.
Phone, yeah.
Come on. Surely they've got enough to afford to buy 2 cameras. You don't even need a commentator, just 2 cameras. We can watch it. We can sort it out for ourselves from there.
Yeah.
Someone else asked, can we get confirmation that the World Cup 9s in 2023 is going ahead? An update on the Olympic bid, an update on the court case with the Tongan Rugby League.
Yeah, all of that would be good. Nines Rugby League, man, they wheel it out every so often and they make a big deal out of it, and then they just completely ignore it. It's very weird how they use Rugby League Nines.
I think they should, if they're serious about trying to get into the international arena, as far as getting international recognition for the game on its own, not with rugby union, then they need to work on the World Cup 9s purely to get it involved in Commonwealth games and the Olympic games that'll be in Brisbane in, was it 2174 or whatever it is.
Yeah, when is that? I think it's 2032. Does that make sense?
That's another lifetime away.
But I'm pretty sure that's when isn't that when the West Tigers were supposed to hit their window, their premiership window?
Oh no, that's when the new era begins.
Yeah. But look, Nines Rugby League, I can understand why they wouldn't get into anything with it, because any sports organisation that looks at it would say, look, you just haven't been playing it. Yeah. So why would we just allow you to come in? Like, it's just something you don't actually play yourselves. But you're right. Nines Rugby League is the vehicle to get into a lot of different things, and we don't use it at all.
No, it's ridiculous. They really should be. Gavin Lang asks, can we get a 4-year international schedule with 10 to 12 internationals for each top 12 or so nations? And he's put together a list of what he suggests.
Yeah.
So he's got here, just open it up now, 2025, the Rugby League World Cup. 2026, New Zealand and Australia tour England and France. The European Cup, including Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Jamaica. Pacific Cup, including Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, PNG. 2027, the Euro and Pacific Six Nations. So the Euro has England, France, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Jamaica. Pacific has Australia, New Zealand, PNG, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji. 2028, England, France to Australia, New Zealand, the Euro Cup, and the Pacific Cup. And then obviously 2029, you'd have another World Cup.
I think you've got to be realistic, though, about commercially what some of those tours would do. Like having France tour Australia, it needs to be done on a pretty lean budget, because France are not going to draw that many people through the gates, and they're not going to be competitive against Australia. They're just not, especially in Australia.
Well, after the Great Britain tour here a few years ago, that's a worrying sign for France and the like, that Great Britain couldn't even be competitive with the island nations down here, which it didn't surprise me so much, but I think it surprised a lot of people in England that they couldn't compete with Papua New Guinea. I think they probably thought they could beat Tonga. So that would have surprised them as well. So I think if Great Britain, and I know there are a few criticisms about that team and how they were selected and their coaching and all sort of stuff, but seriously, if they believe themselves to be one of the top two nations in the world, they should have been a lot more competitive than they were in that tour.
Well, it was Wayne Bennett's fault, though.
That's right. But that's the big concern when it comes to nations like France, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Jamaica. It would be harder for them to be competitive against those nations than what it was for Great Britain.
And the thing about that is, if that is where the game in those nations currently stands, we can't pretend that it's not the case. I think that it's being realistic about where certain nations stand is important, because it stops us from making commercial mistakes. Like, I think if you heard that England were going to do a 3-match tour of Australia, let's say next year, I don't think there'd be too many people really excited about it, to be honest, because we would expect to win 3-0 and to win very, very comfortably in those games. And I think you would struggle to get crowds to those games. So it's like, I understand wanting to have a calendar in place, but I think you've got to be really careful about how you set it out and whether it's commercially viable as well.
I'm wondering whether it'd be worthwhile if England was to come out, say this year, for example, that they would play one game each against PNG, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Cook Islands, New Zealand, Australia, Queensland and New South Wales. Not in that order, but, those teams. That way they can get a bit of an understanding as to where they sit.
See, I don't think you could market an international team playing Queensland or New South Wales anymore.
They used to be big draws, and you could take it away from a capital city. But because it wouldn't be seen as a full international, it's easier to take that to somewhere like Townsville or Wollongong or Canberra or, anywhere you want. You can use it to try and build a big occasion with an international team outside of a capital city.
Yeah.
Whereas the internationals, you're going to want them on the biggest stage you can find.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thinking behind those. And you want to make sure it's a competitive fixture. You don't want to have them playing against, Dubbo under-18s.
They could play the Burleigh Bears.
They could play the Burleigh Bears, mind you. The stifling heat might be an issue.
Very true. Very true.
We can't have that.
Play 4 quarters, 23 degrees.
And let me be honest. The Dubbo under-18s, I'm not saying that you are not strong. I'm confident the Dubbo under-18s would win that game.
Well, look, the last time France come out here, they played Australia's under-20s and they got whipped. And I know it wasn't the full French team, but damn, I think that was a wake-up call for French Rugby League.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, if we're going to do a tour, that's kind of the idea I'd have in mind. It'd be something along those lines. Given that pretty much all of those teams would mostly be stocked, that England would be playing against by players in the NRL or in the Queensland Cup or New South Wales Cup, you could have the whole tour in Australia if needed be due to COVID.
Yeah.
And that would cut down on travel costs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also an option, I guess. But that's the only way, if a tour is going to happen, that would be the only way to have it. You wouldn't have, even if Australia and New Zealand went over to England, you wouldn't have them playing against Wigan and St Helens and stuff like that. There's no point. No. You just go around on your tour and you just play international games for the whole tour and then you come home.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is too, like, you know, all these teams are full of players that play very long club seasons, and you've got to have an off season. Otherwise, your players start getting those, those sorts of injuries where you're just breaking them down, and we don't want that in rugby league. So there's got to be a cap on how many tests you play at the end of a year.
Oh, sure. And I mean, you also got to make sure that there's enough players to destroy the fucking trophy at the end of the year too.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, if you win the NRL, my understanding is that you need at least 3 weeks to completely annihilate the trophy.
That's right. And if you go and play in a Pacific Cup tournament in the off season, that's another trophy to break. I mean, this is laborious work now.
Yeah. You've got to do it right, basically.
Yeah. What else we got in here? Will the World Club Challenge and Series ever be a locked-in schedule or featured by the IRL instead of being organised between participating clubs? I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't be shocked if the World Club Challenge never come back.
Are there any plans to increase the number of Tier 1 countries? Also, is there going to be payment equality between all nations?
Well, look, that comes back to the commercial issues with the game. Like, it's just obvious that if you have Australia playing against New Zealand, that game is going to generate more money than a game between Tonga and Fiji. And that's not anything against the Tonga and Fiji players. Like, I'd actually rather watch Tonga and Fiji play. But it's just a commercial reality.
Well, that's right. So I don't know what they do about that, but they've got to try and get international footy onto, out on a global market, I guess. Make everyone around the world be able to see it. And the easiest way to do that is stream it through your website.
Yeah.
And the good thing about streaming through your website is you own the footage and you can keep the links to it there so people can go back to your website and watch it on there instead of having to try and find it through YouTube or Facebook. You've got all the clicks on your website.
Off the top of your head, do you remember the International Rugby League's website address?
It's intl.sport. something else.
Something like that.
It's stupid.
Yeah. So I know somebody owns International RL.
Yeah.
And they would be willing to sell it at a price. And it's much more straightforward. International RL.
Well, it makes sense. It's actually, here it is. intrl.sport.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck?
Intral
Sport.
Intral.sport. It used to be IRL.com or something like that.
Remember a number of years?
I start getting worried when we start talking about web domains.
Yeah, I'll start buying them.
Yeah, you start going click, and go, oh, here we go again.
I remember years ago on Twitter, and I used to do, the hashtags for the NRL games. And I just used the hashtag I thought was the one you used. And I'd have dorks saying to me, no, this is the actual hashtag to use. And it just feels like that website address. So there was some dork that was like, well, if we want to be a proper sport, we've got to use this one. It's like, no, you fucked up, son.
Yeah. I'm just having a look on the International Rugby League website now.
Mm-hmm.
And the leading news story is subcommittees.
Oh, really? What are they making subcommittees about?
How many subcommittees do you reckon they've got?
Oh, man. Well, I think that they did one for game officials. What other ones would that? I would say 3 or 4.
There's 6.
Wow, really? What are they all for?
There's the Audit and Risk Committee,
okay.
The Commercial Committee,
yep,
the Laws Advisory Group,
yep,
the Medical Subcommittee,
yep,
the Wheelchair Rugby League Advisory Group,
mm-hmm.
and the Women and Girls Rugby League Advisory Group.
Okay. And who was on these groups?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's have a look. They might be chaired by the same person. Wouldn't that be funny?
Just
some blokes wearing 6 hats.
It's all the same person.
It's just one person doing it all. Okay, for the Audit and Risk Committee, Rion Edwards is the chair. Troy Grant is the IRL chair. Danny Kazanjian is the IRL Secretary General. Mark Martin, IRL Finance Manager. Emma Young is the IRL Independent Director. She's the independent director who works for the IRL. Independent.
Yeah, independent.
Independent. The Commercial Committee is chaired by Greg Barclay, Greg Peters, Graham Thompson, Danny Kazanjian, Andrew Abdo, Ralph Rimmer, and Emma Young are on that board, with Charlotte Monkman, who is the secretary. It's the New Zealand Rugby League, the English Rugby League, the International Rugby League, the NRL. So there's only Australia, New Zealand, and England that are in charge of the commercial aspects.
Shock horror. And like Ralph Rimmer, just look at his record.
And his teeth.
That's a bit harsh.
I swear he's still got a garden in there. The Law Advisory Group. Stuart Cummings is the chair. Danny's on there as well. Graham Annesley.
Oh, jeez.
Ruan Sims, Michael Maguire, Mackenzie Fain, Dave Rotherham, Lindsay Enfield, and Charlotte Monkman. Yeah, there's a few people with several hats on.
Yeah.
The medical subcommittee. The independent chair is Mick Malloy.
Oh, really?
I don't think that's the Victorian comedian.
I think you're wrong. I think it is him.
It might be. Paul Bloomfield, Chris Brooks, Nathan Gibbs, Richard Lawrence, Ed Middleton, and Richard Egan.
Do you reckon that all of these people get to go, like obviously COVID's put a stop to it, but when they have their international meeting and they all go to Singapore, do you reckon all these people get a free trip to Singapore?
Nah.
You reckon only some of them do?
Only some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that there's definitely some classism going in there.
Classism?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How many boards are you on? Oh, just one. Oh, I'm on 4, so fuck you. I'm more important. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Do you reckon that any of every single person on the medical advisory board should be a doctor, right?
Well, I mean, you're bringing common sense to the party here. We can't have that.
I'm sorry, I fucked up. Yeah,
you did. I started drastically there.
I was not thinking rugby league terms.
What else have we got on here? I'm a fan of loose eligibility to a degree, but is there any plans at the moment to maybe only let players switch between nations like twice or 3 times in career as opposed to unlimited? Currently allowed 1 switch per calendar year.
Yeah, it should be you can switch once. That's enough. If you need to switch more than that, you're just indecisive.
How about, and I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm putting a poser to you.
Yeah.
What if you're allowed to nominate 2 countries you can play for? One can be a Tier 1 nation, and one can be any nation outside Tier 1.
No, I hate that idea.
Yeah, because, I mean, you could have Tom Trebojevic playing for Australia, and I think he probably qualifies for, I'm guessing, he's Serbia.
Serbia. Can he play tennis?
Serbia. Well, of course he could. Would he get through a game without doing his hammy, though? That's the question.
No, 100% he wouldn't.
Someone else said, are the Kangaroos scared of playing Tonga?
Yes, probably. They're scared of playing Tonga, yes.
Let's see. Will we have mid-year internationals?
No, not in Australia anyway.
No. It's supposed to have a lot of people asking the same question.
Really?
Yeah. Someone asked, can I have a job, please?
They think that they're going to get any money out of that stone. I got some bad news for them.
That's right, mate. You're either in the circle or you're not.
Yeah, and it's a very small circle.
Yeah. There's lots of different circles there, but it's the same people in all of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Someone else did ask, Why is Rugby League World Cup staying branded as the Rugby League Cup 2021 when it's now happening in 2022?
I think that's a very fair question.
I fucking hope it is.
Like, what the fuck?
Someone replied, same reason it was Euro 2020 and Tokyo 2020. A lot of money spent on marketing and merch, plus anything to remind the Aussies and Kiwis of their cowardly parochialism is a bonus.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see England in the final.
Are they the only other team competing?
Oh, jeez. Ask they English. They think they are.
Okay, so if you've got a question for the International Rugby League, and if it's one that you want us to read out, check out the at INTRL, that's the International Rugby League Twitter account. Check out the tweet on there. It was made only a few days ago. And put the at Fergo Freak pod in there when you're asking your question, and we'll be able to see it and read them out.
Yeah. What question would you ask if you had to ask a question?
How much money does the IRL have, and where do they get most of their money from?
That's a really good question. My question would also be, in terms of money, my question would be, how much do the top 5 earners at the International Rugby League make per year?
As in staff?
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah. I want to know. And I think that it's fair to know. You know, it's the international board. There's no reason for that to not be out there.
Well, that's true. Now, one other question we were asked is that apparently Scotland are looking for someone to run the Scottish International Rugby League comp.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just find it.
Now, this was put forward by Julie, yeah?
Yeah, Julie found this, and she tagged us in there. I'm just trying to find out where it was. I'm not logged into it on my computer. My broken computer has it. Here we go. Scotland Rugby League.
Yes.
Vacancy. Scotland Rugby League are seeking to recruit a chair to lead Scotland Rugby League to deliver its strategic ambition and grow the sport both domestically and internationally. So obviously, if we put our name forward for this, and I dare say we will.
Yes.
What are we going to do to make Scotland better than England to start with?
Mm-hmm.
How long do you reckon that'll take?
Well, what time is it now?
It's 11:45.
Okay. So, first thing we do, we focus on the important things. We sort out their jersey, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be all blue.
Yep.
And, we got to add a little bit of white in there, but not too much. It's mostly got to be blue.
How about just a white cross across the front?
We could do that. I'm up for that.
That's it. Just one line down, one line across.
Okay. Now, with the Scottish Rugby League team, they've got a name. Do you remember what their name is?
The Bastards?
The Bastards. Let's change it to the Bastards.
It should be.
The Scottish Bastards.
How excited would you be if you're playing for an international country and you go, who are we playing against this week? And you go, we're playing against the Bastards. You go,
it'd be incredible.
You got to put the fear in the mind of their people straight away. You need to get in the head early.
We've sorted that. Now we need to name 3 Immortals of Scottish Rugby League. Now, obviously, one of them is Lachlan Coote.
Hands down.
Yeah.
There was a forward.
Henderson.
No. Played for the Titans, I believe. And the Sharks. What was his name?
Forward. I can't remember.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to look it up. Where are we? He's obviously, does Wayne Kerr get in there?
Oh, well, okay. So we've got Immortals, but then we've got a level above that. That's called the Wayne Kerr level.
Let's see. Danny Bro.
Yeah, Danny Bro's got to be in there. Yeah.
Luke Douglas.
That's it. Yeah, Luke Douglas.
Dougie.
He was a pretty good player too.
Yeah. There's also Dale Ferguson. I mean, he's got to get in purely on surname alone.
Ferguson.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the fact, I mean, Name for me a more Scottish surname than Ferguson.
That's a good point.
Other than McFerguson.
McFerguson. So we've got our Scottish Rugby League Immortals. Now, I mean, what would you do with domestic? I mean, the first thing I would do is I would rebuild the wall between England and Scotland. We need to do that. That's just manpower issue. But then I guess
first thing we do is we make the English build it.
Yeah.
Tell them it's for their own good.
We'll say it's something to do with Brexit.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be all keen over that.
Although, is there anyone left in England that can build a wall? I know they don't have anyone to drive their trucks.
It's okay. Just ask Poland. They'll do it for them. Yeah.
Polish people are fucking industrious people. Get them over on some visas. And so we've got the wall rebuilt, and then we start looking at all of the big cities in Scotland, of which there's 2.
Yeah. Well, we're going to use rugby league to make them have more than just 2 big cities.
Okay. Where's the other one going to be?
We're going to make this place so goddamn impressive because of rugby league that people are going to be wanting to live all over the place.
Yeah.
So we need a centre in the north, the south, the east, the west.
Okay. Now, I think that most of Scotland is a windswept, barren wasteland of nothingness. But you've got to start somewhere.
That's right.
I mean, it's still got more going for it than Wales at this point.
We'll get to Wales in a sec. If we're successful with Scotland, then Wales will come crawling up to us and they'll want us to look after this game as well.
Yeah.
So Inverness in the north.
Okay. Yep.
Aberdeen and Dundee, they're on the east coast, northeast, southeast. Glasgow, obviously, in the south. Mm-hmm. We just need a place on the west.
Okay.
It's a rather inhospitable area.
We need to build a city.
I'm just showing you what we've got out here. There's the Isle of Mull.
Can we have a team, and it's called the Smiths?
The Smiths.
They're based at Loch Ness, so they're the Locksmiths.
Sure, why not? I'm fine with that.
Okay.
The Locksmiths. Just trying to see what we've got here.
Can we have a coat of arms that has Sean Connery's face on it?
Sean Connery, or what? Hang on, we're going with young Sean Connery or older bearded Sean Connery?
We would have to do a survey and find out, like, I won't say that. Fuck it. Let's do a survey. We'll do a scientific survey.
Yeah.
And we'll find out what is the ideal moisture level that is provided by the different levels of Connery. Like, is it the younger one? Is it the younger Sean Connery? Or is it the more distinguished older Sean Connery?
The older gent.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Now,
it'll be like, I guess they've got the things, they do the horse racing, and they say what the track is. It's like, it's heavy track or whatever.
Like a heavy 5.
Yeah. So, gotcha. You might find that, like, Dr. No Sean Connery is a heavy 5. And then you have to go with that.
That's workable. So, yeah, we've got Inverness, Aberdeen, Dundee, Glasgow. We can put a team at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
We could have one at Perth. It's a bit close to Dundee, but it's all right.
Why not?
So we've got a few teams there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'd be good to have 2 more.
I don't know. I think 6 is enough. And you've got to, because what are we doing straight away? We're looking to build a national competition.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's do that.
Okay.
Well, then we could go a bit further south. Put one that's down near the border. Just to keep the English scared.
And what would you call them? The border dwellers or something?
Well, you put one at Lockerbie.
barbarians.
That's getting pretty. Well, they could just be the arseholes maybe. No, arseholes is not really a Scottish term.
No.
The bastards is pretty good, so we've got to work with something around that.
The border
Savages.
bastards.
They're the savages.
And so we've got the national competition sorted out. Now, what are we doing internationally?
So we're going to. I think what we need to do is we need to have. Let's play internationals against the other United Kingdom nations, like the ones that matter. So Ireland, Scotland, obviously will be in there. Wales, and then throw in some other European teams like France. Why not get Serbia involved? Let's try and prop them up and get them prominent. Greece and Italy, they're on the move up. Let's work with them. Lebanon, that's a pretty strong European nations competition there. Yeah, it's got 100%. All of the top teams in that whole European region.
The important ones, the ones that actually matter, yeah.
So put all them in there. And hopefully by doing that, we can improve all of the local competitions as well. And perhaps you could start a player transfer system amongst all those nations too.
That would be good.
So then you've got the creme de la creme in each competition helping out everywhere else around. And we can actually have a genuine, superb league. I don't know what else you'd call it.
Superb league.
Yeah, superb league.
We'd have to set up 3 different governing bodies to run this, though.
Well, we're going to have the Scottish Rugby League, us.
Yes.
The European Superb League, which will be us.
Yep.
And, I don't know, the Financial League, which Nadine can run that.
Yeah. That sounds like a plan.
Would she be our boss or would we be hers? I think that answers itself. She'll be our boss. So there, we've got it sorted.
Yeah.
I think every 4 years, we'll make sure that we get drawn in Pool A with Australia and England.
Can we be outrageously confident as well? Like, can we talk shit like other...
we have to. Problem is, though, when we talk shit, obviously with the Scottish accent, it can be a bit hard for some people to understand. So we might have to get Connery legitimately on the payroll because he has done a few elocution lessons. He's got to do the talking shit for us so that people can understand it.
Now, there's going to be an issue
I don't know
with
if
that.
I mean this in the kindest possible way. I don't know if you've ever heard a drunk Scotsman talking. It's interesting.
They sound less fucking. Well, put it this way: you can barely understand them in the same way you just cannot understand Jamie Peacock. Like, it's like, what the fuck is this person saying? It's just gibberish. Doesn't make sense.
I've known quite a few Scottish people in my time from different parts of Australia, and obviously some around the world as well. And they're all brilliant humans, and some of them are even funnier when they're pissed. Probably because I don't know what they're saying, but they're having a great time. So who gives a shit?
I don't think I've known too many Scottish people ever.
Oh, mate, they're fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult to get Sean Connery to do anything for us because he's dead.
Yeah, but you can just get old footage and stuff like that.
Okay. We'll use deep fakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. People know his voice.
Yeah.
You just say, no, he didn't die.
I liked his Russian accent in the Hunt for Red October. It was spot on.
Absolutely. Or we can get Chris O'Dowd to do the talking.
Who's that?
I think he might be Irish. Yeah, who cares?
Same fucking thing. We could get 300. He'd probably need a job. 300. You remember him?
Oh, Gerard Butler.
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Every time he tries to speak like an American, he just talks really slow.
Yeah, he nails it.
He goes, "Yep, just say 4 words and no more in your sentence." No one will pick up the accent. But there you go.
I think that we've got this sorted out. Scottish Rugby League.
Yeah, we got your back.
Yeah.
And the plan is to make you the most prominent rugby league nation in all of the United Kingdom.
and to crush your enemies, see them driven before you.
Absolutely. Hey,
apart from Wales is already done.
You know what I reckon we should also do?
What?
Is play one game every year against England. And for every time we win a game, we make England move the Hadrian's Wall another 1 kilometre further south.
Brick by brick, yeah.
Brick by brick. And every 4 years, we play another game against them. So they've got 4 years to move that wall.
Yeah. I think that's
only Super League officials and RFL officials and Finance Committee officials are allowed to move the wall. It's not going to be the players' responsibility.
It will never get moved if that's the case.
Oh, it has to. Because if they don't do it, Scotland then gets to legally take ownership of all of English Rugby League's financial, whatever that is they've got that's financial.
They've got a vending machine and...
Free pizza.
I wonder who controls the vending machine, by the way.
Papa John's?
No. You know how they've got the three governing bodies now?
Oh, yeah. Actually, does that mean they're now got to pick up an extra few vending machines?
Maybe they do.
Oh, boy.
You know what we'll do? We'll wait until they've got this third governing body going, right? And then we will send a letter to each of the three governing bodies and see how far apart they actually are. I bet they're all in the same building.
I bet they're all in the same chair.
Yeah. like what the International Rugby League used to be. It was like send a letter to the ARL and the International Rugby League and see who you have to send it to. It's both the same place.
Give it a week. We'll research that and find out. I'm sure we'll be all right.
Yeah, so I think that we can really move Scottish Rugby League to new places.
The Scotland bastards.
That'd be great. The bastards. I bet Scottish people would love that if they had a national team called the Bastards.
I know, I would.
Yeah,
if Scotland doesn't want it, then I want Australia to adopt the Bastards instead of the Kangaroo.
Well, what if we changed all of the international teams? What would we call them? Like, what would Australia be called?
Mongrels.
The Australian
Do you reckon mongrels?
I don't know.
Mongrel does sound like a rather Aussie term.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, you know what it would be? The Australian cunts.
That's pretty true.
Yeah. What would you call England?
I
can't call them what I'd call them.
Wines?
The wines.
Yeah.
Whingers, English soap dodgers?
Soap dodgers is a bit harsh.
Exactly. Soap dodgers it is. What would you call
Well, actually, I say soap dodgers then is just a bit wordy.
Okay.
The whiners.
The English whiners.
Yeah.
Then what would you call Wales personally?
Who?
The Irrelevants?
No, I'd stick with Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah,
how about
because of what we've experienced with the Dragons in the NRL?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. So France, you've just got to call them the Cocks, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't go past that.
No.
The Serbia would call them the Novaks.
I reckon the players of Serbia would be above that. And besides, they've got the team called the Mad Squirrels. We've got to give them a bit more than that.
That's true. What about the really mad squirrels? That's the step up.
The piss squirrels. The postal squirrels.
Fucking angry squirrels.
Postal squirrels.
Well, I guess maybe we could call the Australian team the Quackers.
Mad Quackers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call New Zealand?
New Zealand? The Mad Kiwis?
Mad Kiwis. No. Just call everyone mad. Done with it.
Those cute little birds, you can't call them mad. So they're pretty rare. They can't be too mad.
You'd just call PNG the Papua New Guinea. Oh fuck! Because they're just beating the crap out of you.
The sledgehammers.
Yeah. Fiji, you just call them the Fijian wingers because they're all just, wingers. What would you call Tonga? You'd call Tonga like, what would you call them? Tonga.
Brutes?
Yeah, because they're all sort of got, like, think about, I've always said Tongans are built perfectly for rugby league. They've just got the perfect frame for rugby league.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. What would you call Tonga?
Tormalolos?
The Tormalolos. Yeah. And then Samoa. What would you call Samoa? Samoan. It'd be like, what if we changed their entire name? It's like the Samoa / Mount Druitt something.
Rebels.
Yeah, the Rebels.
The Mount Druitt Rebels.
Who else have we got left?
America.
The Americans would have to be it'd have to be the United States zippers because they're always coming apart, splitting.
That's a good one. Canada.
Canada. What would we call Canada?
Can we go with Bears?
I guess we could. It has been a cursed name in rugby league, though.
Well, Russia.
Oh, well, Russia is the Bears, aren't they?
Yeah.
Could call them I don't know. I guess there's polar bears in Russia.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I don't want Vladimir coming after me, so I'll just keep it to myself.
You were going to call them the wonderful people.
Yeah, that's right. The lovely Vladimirs.
The Russian, I'm ready for a new overlords.
Yeah, well, Vladimir gets Russian Vladimir gets my vote. Everyone's safe.
I love how there's certain countries where they've only got like a handful of names, and Russia's one of them. Like there's for male names, there's like 5 different male names. It's great.
Yeah, they don't want to confuse it or overwhelm anyone when it comes to naming their kids.
It's just brilliant.
Here is your list. Pick one.
So yeah, we should just basically run International Rugby League overall.
Absolutely. I think, we've basically done it, haven't we?
Yeah. I think we've just finished the podcast.
It seems like we've sorted out International Rugby League, so there's not much else left to do, really, is there?
That's true. You've got to start at the top.
Start at the top. We've got everything else sorted out after that. All right, so if you want to check us out on the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Fergo and The Freak Pod. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, MySpace. So check us out on all of those. Give us likes, follows, subscribes, all that sort of stuff. That'd be fantastic. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and a review on your podcast listening device. And once you've done that, we'll read it on the podcast and we'll add it up onto the website, Freaky.
Yeah, which is fergoandthefreak.com. Go there, send us an email.
Yes. I'm sure there's an absolutely overwhelming number of emails there already. We'll get around to those sometime soon. Yep. Done. And I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Too easy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you all later.